Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. I am now back from my international trip following last week's episode where we ranked our favorite video game movies of all time. And now you fast forward to this week, and we have a surprising amount of video game movie news to cover, which, you know, I could have planned this a little bit better. But we will talk about that, plus 2 new trailers for upcoming first-party Nintendo games. We'll also discuss Pragmata, which is the latest game from Capcom, and then we have a fun segment to wrap up the show as we will be pitching dream ideas for some of our favorite Nintendo franchises. Joining me for all that is my good friend and the editor-at-large over at Polygon. It's Giovanni Colantonio. Gio, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm always psyched when I can come on the show, so it's always the best part of my week at any given point, or month, or however often I'm here. I don't know. Sometimes. I'm doing great. How are you doing, bud?
I'm hanging in there. You know, it has been a very busy stretch for me. I just wrapped up a huge project over at Game Informer. I'm very excited to share more about that in the coming weeks. So putting that behind me is always just like I'm excited to get it out there eventually, but also oh man, I am ready to have a few evenings where I just don't do anything of substance.
Yeah, I feel that. I think I just did 4 reviews in a row. and I was like, I think back to back, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday.
Oh my God.
It just all landed on the same time. So yeah, I'm hopefully taking a little bit of a breather following that. We'll see.
Yes. I also have a review on my plate, so I guess I'm not able to completely kick my feet up and relax. But Gio, before we get into this, last week I had Logan Plant from IGN on, and we ranked our favorite video game movies of all time. We're going to be talking about a lot of video game movie news this episode because we had CinemaCon last week.
Sure.
What are your top 3 video game movies ever?
Oh man, it's I love that because it's like picking the 3 worst things that you could possibly think of. There aren't a lot of good ones, are there?
We came up with a list. I mean,
a decent list.
To be fair, if you go back and listen to last week's episode, the top tier was pretty good. So that was what we named the top tier. So that did manage expectations a little bit.
Okay. If that's the case and we're just talking TV or we're talking movies and not TV, I would maybe say, what do I have a soft spot for? I think Sonic 2 is maybe on that list.
Oh, Sonic 2, not 3?
Maybe 3. And
3's the one with Shadow.
3's the one with Shadow. Yeah, maybe Shadow elevates Sonic 3 to the number 3 spot or something like that. And I don't even think it's that good. But it is a watchable movie that I enjoyed watching, and that puts it above a lot of things. I would put Detective Pikachu very high. I think that movie is actually great. Legitimately really great. Not really great, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoyed watching that quite a bit. And then I don't know, because the thing is, there are a lot of ones that I know are bad, but I still kind of enjoy in a weird way. I actually weirdly not fully, but I kind of like the Silent Hill, first Silent Hill movie that's really bad, because it kind of gets at the weirdness of that game in being off kilter and bad in the right way. So maybe I'll do Silent Hill, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and Detective Pikachu.
We did not rank Silent Hill because neither of us had seen it. We only kept it as the ones we had seen. We weren't going to try to pontificate on movies we hadn't seen just based on reputation. But that was one that the commenters brought up of how you need to go watch this because it's one of the better ones. We also heard that we needed to see the Minecraft movie, which I just don't have any real interest in that IP. And then Five Nights at Freddy's was also one which I responded that I can't speak for Logan, but I am about 2 decades too old for that entire franchise. So those are the ones that people brought up.
Silent Hill's worth watching. I mean, I don't know how it holds up now. It's probably not good, but you forget the Silent Hill games are weird and off kilter as is. So having a kind of bad movie adaptation is well, that's what the games kind of are in some way. So it's actually kind of the right vibe. I don't know. I like it. Not the new one, which I hear is horrible, but
oh no,
the original. Yeah.
That similarly, we I think our top 3 that we put in the ranking were Sonic 3.
Yep.
Detective Pikachu, and I believe we did the 1994 Mortal Kombat movie.
Oh, you know what? That's a good call. That's a classic.
So yeah, we're pretty aligned there.
No Monster Hunter, a film that everyone forgets happened.
Monster Hunter landed in the lowest tier, the
Okay.
abysmal tier, it was called.
What about Tar, the Oscar-winning film Tar that ends with Monster Hunter concert? Did that make the list?
We did not see that movie, so it did not make the
You
list.
should watch Tar and get to the ending of it, which kicks. It's so good.
Oh boy. Well, maybe we'll have to do a revised tier list
Yeah.
in the future with Tar. But I mean,
That's number one.
after this year and the next year, we might have to do another list because there are
Yep.
so many movies that we're going to be talking about in just a moment. But first, a reminder that this show is brought to you by the fine folks who support me on Patreon. Without them, the show literally would not exist. You can get access to the community Discord for as little as $3 a month, where we are talking Nintendo all day long. We also do community nights from time to time, to the point that the members of the community Discord are going off the books over there. They're planning an unsanctioned Splatoon 3 game night this weekend. So, that's a good sign that we're building a fun community over there, which you can be a part of starting at just $3 a month. But there are also $5 and $10 tiers to get you early and ad-free episodes, plus the shout outs at the end of every show. I also recently restarted All Things Gamers, which is a semi-regular extra podcast that will go out to $10 patrons whenever I just have something I want to talk about. You can join the team that makes this show happen by going to patreon.com and searching for Brian Shea or All Things Nintendo. It is only because of the fine folks who support me on Patreon that I'm able to keep going as an independent entity week after week. All right, Gio, we've got some stuff to talk about, tons of video game movie news to get to, but we also first have updates for two of the closest first-party Nintendo releases on the horizon.
Okay.
So first up, Splatoon Raiders, which it is a game that felt like the game that Nintendo forgot existed.
I know.
They put out this trailer, this teaser. What was that like? Was that around the time that the Switch 2 was announced?
Yeah, it didn't make it into the cut with like here's the actual Switch Direct, and it was just like it wasn't even in a direct period. It was just like one morning we woke up and the Splatoon team was like, "Hello everybody, we're making a game called Splatoon Raiders." And it was like, "What is it?" And then it never showed up in a direct after that.
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. It was so like, ignore me. It's like, what is that? So now we finally know what it is.
Yeah,
right?
they did their Nintendo thing, which is, just randomly dump it on a Tuesday morning and just say, here it is. And, we finally know more about the game and we know when it's coming and it's not very far off. So Splatoon Raiders is coming out on July 23rd, exclusive for Switch 2. And the trailer for the game shows that you play as a customizable mechanic who is treasure hunting on the Spiralite Islands.
Sure.
With the three characters from Deep Cut from Splatoon 3. And about a third of this trailer was showing off what seems to be just extremely basic customization options.
Yeah, quite a bit of it. They were like, here's how you can make your face by choosing from templates. And I was like, okay, this is going on for like 3 minutes.
It's like, this is basically the Splatoon 3 character customization. They could have recorded it from there and just put a different background, but whatever. Nintendo confirmed that it is a single-player focused Splatoon game, but you can also play with up to 4 players. How do you feel about that? A single-player focused Splatoon game?
I think that's fantastic. And I think that people forget that like Splatoon has way more single player than people realize, especially if you look at Splatoon 3. The campaign for that game is great. The single player campaign. I actually think it's like quite good. And going back even to Splatoon 2, there was that Octo expansion, which was like the single player DLC that is like also very good. But even
I would argue going back to the first Splatoon game, that felt like it was like, these are kind of ideas we had for Mario that we couldn't plug into a Mario game.
100%. Yeah. And then I think if you've been like paying attention to that series, like they have been figuring out how to do it more and more. Like one of my favorite things that Splatoon has done so far, honestly, was the I don't remember the name of the expansion, but the side order expansion for Splatoon 3, where they like made a roguelite. And it's just like, now you can go into Splatoon and you can play a roguelite mode, and that is on top of the campaign and the multiplayer, and the PvE component, and the card game that like people forget, the single player card game that's like actually very good. Yeah, it's like Turf Wars or whatever. Like it's actually pretty good. And so like I don't find it that surprising at all. Like I think they have been building single player content for a while, and I think this is something that like just would have been in Splatoon 4, and it would have just been one of the modes alongside everything else. And I think breaking it out into its own game, making it more focused, so it's not so much like, oh, like there's a little side stuff that's not as like fleshed out because we're really concerned with making the live service like single player aspect. I think it's smart, and I'm glad to see them do it. And hopefully brings more people to what I think is like kind of one of Nintendo's best current franchises, if I could dare to say.
Yeah, and people forget, and I mean, I forgot for a while that Nogami,
Yeah.
the creator of Splatoon, was the creator of Animal Crossing,
Right. Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
wild. And it's funny because I didn't realize that until after I interviewed him at like GDC 2017, I think it was. And like afterwards, I was like, let's see what else this guy has done. I was like, oh, he
Oh,
created Animal Crossing, which, means a lot more after 2020 than it did back then.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can kind of tell, I think, when you look at those games, like they're so not similar in any way, but like the way that they like build out a world that like you really feel like you're living in, not just like here's some
Mhm.
fun levels, and like, oh, like cool Mario biomes, but like a true lived in world. Like the people who love Splatoon are so like in that world and like treating it like a social media hub.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of that DNA there, and yeah, I'm so excited for this one. I had just anything Splatoon, I am just like, show me more of that world because like it is so fun.
I had such a fun interview with Nogami at that GDC. We
Mhm.
used to do a thing called Burning Questions, which was kind of like the precursor to our rapid fire interviews that we do at Game
Right.
Informer from time to time. And it was just like asking like the most off the wall lore questions. And like it was like, all right, well, when the inklings sink into like the ink to like swim through it, are they sinking like beneath the surface of the sidewalk, or are they like stretching really thin and like becoming one with the liquid? And he tried to like get really scientific, and like midway through he's like, man, you're really giving it to me here, like I don't or you're really putting me to it or something. I was just like,
That's so
I
funny.
love when like a developer tries to like explain their way out of something then they halfway through they realize like it just makes no sense.
Yeah, they're like, I don't know. We don't think about it.
I mean, that's the common Nintendo response. Like if you've ever read like an Eiji Aonuma interview where they're like,
Yeah.
let's talk lore, he's like, I'd rather we not.
Yeah, yeah. Please don't say the word timeline to me, or I'll start crying just on the spot. Please.
And I love that every time I've asked Eiji Aonuma about like, hey, what is the deal with this thing in Tears of the Kingdom? He's just like, yeah, we have an idea, but we're not going to talk about it. Like, just figure it out. Talk amongst yourselves is basically their answer.
That's the David Lynch philosophy, right? Of just like, I'm not going to explain any of my stuff, and it's up to you, and it's perfect because then it's like, it's up to interpretation. When the actual answer for them is probably like, we don't know, man. We just made a Zelda game.
They made us put like a timeline in the Hyrule Historia. We thought nobody was going to read it, and now we're stuck to it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. That. Oh God, I hope they keep updating that timeline and just make it more and more convoluted.
I
Where
love.
it's just like,
I love that when Breath of the Wild came out, they're just like, yeah, this takes place like long after. Nothing else matters. Like it's so far in the future that like we're gonna reference
don't worry,
all of them.
don't worry about it. The world has been destroyed and remade 100 times.
So Splatoon Raiders, it seems
Yeah,
like it is like you said, a combination of like the single player campaigns that are in like the base games, the side order DLC, the Octo expansion, and also like just kind of like this open world style game where you can go around and like craft your own weapons and items. Like they showed like they had like kind of like Vampire Survivor style items
yeah.
where it's like, all right, this thing is just going to rotate around me and kill any minion that comes near me and like do damage to like higher power or enemies. And then like you're going around gathering as much treasure as possible, some of which actually have like abilities that they augment you. Like there was one that like gave you like a better jump, which is cool.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of the enemies are borrowed from Splatoon 3's like salmon run mode.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just like exploration focused, all kinds of different unique things. Like, yeah, just like Salmon Run also seems like it's another element that they're pulling from in addition to those campaigns and DLCs. So like, I have long been a proponent of like the single player content, as it sounds like you have been. Are
Yeah.
you as sold on Splatoon Raiders as I am?
I think so. I think like that team has not given me any reason yet to think that it will blow it. And especially like looking at this and seeing how much it seems to be pulling from Salmon Run, which is like kind of secretly the best mode of Splatoon. Like I think might be actually better than the actual like turf war multiplayer mode. Debatable. Maybe that's too far to say, but it's really good. It's like the second thing you go to it for at the very least. So I have no reason to think that I have no reason to be concerned about it. I think they've experimented with so many little things that I think are coming into this. I think like you can kind of see the side orders experimentation in here a little bit as well. And I just get excited anytime this team gets experimental. And even if it like ends up not being good, I think it'll be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see them play with ideas. And my hope for it is just that like this is a kind of like proving ground for helping them figure out how to do Splatoon 4 and not have it be the same thing. Because I think that's been the challenge with the last Splatoon games is like they add a lot more content to the sides, but like the core experience is kind of the same thing between all three games, right? It's like kind of the same modes, it's like kind of the same weapons. They add a new thing here and there, but like nothing is really shaken up. I would argue, and my hope is that this game is going to kind of be. It has been, because I'm sure they're working on a multiplayer thing somewhere in the background, right? Like they must be. I'm hoping that this has been kind of like, oh, let's try to like mess with what it would be like to build your own weapons, and what it would be like to have different abilities that you kind of like graft onto characters. Like, are they going to mess with like a hero shooter kind of thing for it? You know what I mean? So if that's what it ends up being, just kind of like the experimental proving ground of like, we've had all these ideas that we haven't really been able to do anything with in the main shooter because it messes up the balance of the multiplayer, then yeah, good. Give me all your weird ideas. Cool. I will say I haven't seen enough of how this game works and like what the flow of it is to like fully get it yet. And I'm kind of like jury's out until I see that. But I mean, if it plays like Salmon Run, like that's already like halfway to a pretty decent game in my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this, and like it was one of those games where it was just like every time it was brought up, it was like, oh yeah, that game was teased, and it felt like maybe like Nintendo was like positioning this for like a 2027 or 2028 release with how cagey they were being about it, but then all of a sudden, nope, July 23rd. So we have just a couple more months or a few more months to go. We also learned that we're getting 3 amiibos, and those will be alongside the game. I don't know. Are you still in on the amiibo collection?
I wish. I have so many amiibo. The inflation, amiibo inflation, has really been rough. Like I used to buy them because they were $12, and now it's like, hey, get the Silux amiibo for $40, and I'm like, I have to eat dinner like for a week. I don't know. Like I can't do that. I wish, because I think some of the amiibo have actually gotten better, like quality wise, and I want some of them more, but like once they go from being like a toy to an investment, I'm like, I can't, guys, I'm 36. I can't do it.
Also, did you see how enormous the Mario Galaxy amiibos were?
Yes, I remember they're very large, right?
That completely deterred me from wanting them, because it's like the whole thing is like they're kind of uniformed, and you can like put the Link amiibo next to the Mario amiibo, and they look like they're part of the same series. This looks like they would just be giants over top of like the other amiibo. Like I have the large Detective Pikachu amiibo just because I thought it was funny, and like there's like the giant like wool or yarn Yoshi.
I was about to say.
But like every other amiibo has been pretty uniformed in size, and now they're just like, screw it, let's just make things giant for no reason.
Yeah, when I was gonna buy some of the Prime 4 amiibo, like I was gonna buy like the Samus on the bike amiibo, and I was like, oh, I don't have like a table big enough for this. Like it's so long, I can't do it. I have a display shelf for my amiibo, and like this will not go on it. I appreciate that they're still committed to them. Like bless Nintendo for like not ditching this idea and being like, no, this is a revenue stream for us. When like I don't even know if games really use amiibo anymore. I know they kind of still do, but like I don't know that anyone really thinks about it.
No, I mean, I am replaying Breath of the Wild right now. I'm coming up on the end of my replay, and all my amiibos are packed away because I moved a year ago, and it's just like I have no space for them, so they're just all in a box. That is the one time where I'm just like, oh man, I'd really like to get some of those outfits that you get from the amiibos, because I was just running around in like the ugliest imaginable outfit the entire playthrough with like no utility whatsoever. No. So, yeah, Splatoon Raiders coming out.
Hi there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's show, why not check out Dungeons and Dragon Fruits, the bizarre, strange, and queer in every sense of the word D&D podcast. Join 5 friends as they laugh, learn, and adventure their way through the weird, wonderful world of Widdershins, where dragons hatch from trees and have adventures of all forms in every shape and size. Available wherever you can get your podcasts.
In July, looking forward to that. But we also got a new trailer for the next first-party Nintendo game, which is Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. So
Yeah.
at the beginning of the game, a book named Mr. E, you see what they did there, falls onto the island, and he has forgotten his contents. So very wholesome start to this game, as most Yoshi games are. Yoshi agrees to go around and research the creatures to fill back up the pages of Mr. E. So you go around, that's what these levels seem to be, jump into these pages, research the creatures in all these different ways. Like, you know, you can eat one of the creatures and it'll say, oh, that's how they taste, and then see how they react to being hit by eggs, or like, you know, I think there's like a tail whip action that he has, and it makes it so like they ride on him and see if like the creature rides on Yoshi's back. And then you're basically just going around learning as much as you can about these creatures as possible to fill in these pages. And then each level also has a big discovery, they called it, at the end, which concludes the research for that creature. And then you get a chance to name that creature, which, you know, there are suggestions that Mr. E can give you, but it seems like they're also allowing you to do the like Tomodachi Life thing, where you can just be like, screw it, I'm going to name this thing something very irreverent and probably get me banned from sharing this on social media, as all Tomodachi Life clips are for stupid reasons. But as you research more creatures, you unlock more chapters that take place in different biomes. They have like kind of like a wider diversity of creatures. We also got a glimpse of Bowser Jr. and Kamek, who are, you know, they're looking for something in the book. They did that whole like Nintendo trailer thing where they're like, oh, what are they up to? And then it just fades away. And then they show that, like, you know, maybe there's like some boss fights against them. And it looks like maybe they involve like the creatures that you research fighting alongside you, which is kind of cool because Yoshi games always have like really great gimmicks. And, you know, I'm still bummed that they haven't brought Yoshi's Woolly World over to Switch or Switch 2. But
I know.
You know, I think, honestly, that is one of the better Wii U games. And I think because they had Yoshi's Crafted World, they're like, nope, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. It was like, oh, this is too redundant because we're kind of just like making the same game a second time, but like not quite as good. Yeah, Woolly World is fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that game. And I see, like, I'm glad, I will say, that like they are kind of continuing that idea for Yoshi. Like they have finally, I feel like for a long time, Yoshi was kind of like, what is a Yoshi game? Right. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like, what, I don't know. This is a character we have, like, it's a platformer. It's kind of Kirby maybe, but no, it's not Kirby. It's kind of Mario, but no, it's not Mario. And I feel like they couldn't really crack it. And the thing I really like about what I'm seeing with this game so far is like, it seems like they figured it out. Like, it seems like they're like, here's what a Yoshi game is, and here's how it's different than other Nintendo games. Like, is it a platformer? Yeah. But like, we have now kind of almost like removed combat entirely, as far as I can tell, right? And it's more of a like, this is like a thing about discovery and like discovering the world and like interacting with it peacefully and like learning the behaviors of creatures. And that is so much more distinct and so much more interesting than just like, yeah, it's another platformer that just is really easy. You know, I would say that was like the gimmick of the last Yoshi game, was like, it's a platformer but easy. And to see them lean into that, I think is like great, especially because I think they have really established Yoshi as like, this is a kid's game, like a really young kid's game, and that's what we have decided that Yoshi is. And making it a little more like playful and educational and less combat focused, I think is a smart call. I think it's going to make it maybe a little too not for older players, I would imagine. Like, from what I've seen, it looks like kind of like it's going to be that Princess Peach Showtime, like very easy, you know, kind of clearly skewing towards the younger audiences. But like, man, I want the younger audiences to have really cool games that like aren't just like hard Mario platformers. So like, more power to them if they can pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, neither of us had a chance to attend the recent hands-on session. Game Informer didn't even have a chance to make it out there in general. Just too many conflicts with us to travel out to New York. But Polygon does have a preview for it by Jen Glennon, and you edited the preview. Is there anything else from that you like picked up that is worth bringing up?
No, I mean, yeah, I think a lot of the stuff we have talked about here is kind of what I found in that. The thing that I love the idea that like you can name the creatures, which just
Mhm.
seems like a disaster waiting to happen, but bless them for doing it. But yeah, like Jen in that preview talks a lot about just kind of like the different creatures you can interact with, and like almost like it seems like the game almost does have a Kirby like quality to it, where like, oh, you like tail whip this creature, and suddenly you have like a totally different power that you can use to navigate the world. And I think there was an example there of like a frog, if I recall, and like there being a power tied to that. And I was like, cool, that sounds wonderful. So that's really what sticks out to me. Like if it's the kind of game where it's Kirby esque and sort of, hey, you're going to get all these different abilities and then figure out how they work and then figure out how you can use them to find secrets. I really like that formula, and I wouldn't really be missing much of combat because I don't think the combat in Yoshi games is like that interesting to begin with. So if it's really just about like finding collectibles and finding cute monsters, like great, that sounds wonderful.
So, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book is coming to Switch 2 on May 21st. We just went over that Splatoon Raiders is coming out July 23rd. Nintendo's kind of on this like monthly cadence with their games. April's game was Tomodachi Life, March was Pokopia. Uh June looking wide open. There's those
Yeah.
rumors that Star Fox might be a summer release. Do you think
Mm.
that's something that we might plug in as like a shadow drop almost?
It's possible. I keep going back and forth on this. Number one, I still don't know if that's true. Like it has been corroborated enough that I have a feeling it is, but also the fact that that rumor came up immediately after he was revealed to be in the Galaxy movie kind of reeks of like someone is making a real educated guess about like, well, they're probably making a Star Fox game. So if I just say that there's a Star Fox game coming, I'll be right eventually, right? But I have seen it corroborated by some sources that I trust a little bit more than the kind of like leaker crowd.
Mhm.
So I think it's possible. I think it's possible that it could be a shadow drop situation, but I also kind of like it would be weird of Nintendo to treat one of its major franchises. Sorry, Star Fox isn't a major franchise, but you know what I mean, right? Like it is one of their mascots and not like, jump rope challenge or, or whatever their like weird one-off projects they do. And it would be weird to me if they were like new Star Fox game and it's out now. But then again, F-Zero 99 was a shadow drop, if I recall correctly. And I think like a lot of those side games kind of were. So if it's a really small scale Star Fox game, and not like a $60 Star Fox game, if it's something that's like this is a download only, like $20, couple of hours version of Star Fox, and not like grand and fully built out like Star Fox Zero, I think it's very possible. But it really is going to depend on what the scope of that game is, because I have a hard time seeing them being like, yeah, new Star Fox game. It's a full Star Fox game. It's out now. Don't worry about physical releases. Like I don't know, there isn't one. Like they need time to market that and put that stuff into stores. So I don't buy like a full Star Fox game if we haven't heard about it yet. June seems out of the question unless it's a small thing.
That's fair. Yeah,
Yeah.
just thinking about like, Nintendo has wanted to do these monthly releases for as
Yep.
long as I can remember at this point,
Yep.
and there's just nothing in June. So it's like there is this weird void of like what could go there? I mean, is there stuff we're still waiting to hear about like when it comes out?
At this point, not so much, because Rhythm Heaven is now what? Is that July as well?
Is it?
That
Let's
just got a
see.
release date very recently.
That is July 2nd. So I guess they could theoretically count that as a June game.
I think that's probably it, because there have been a couple of months since the Switch 2 launched where like they do one game a month, but sometimes one game kind of like comes at the very, very beginning of the next month, and then there's a game at the end of the month. So my read on that is that Rhythm Heaven is probably the June game that is just shifted a little bit. But yeah, I do like this strategy. I will say I wrote about this when the Switch first came out, or the Switch 2 first came out. But like they're almost running a book club of first party games where it's like, hey, this month Tomodachi Life, and like everyone talk about it and play it and share your stuff. And I like that a lot. Like I really like that it's like every month there's a game. It is a manageable thing that you can play in a month for a lot of it. And then we get to move on and talk about something else. Like, and I really like that social aspect to the Switch lifespan. And I'm glad they've kind of kept it going. And have like been able to support that, because like putting out 12 like good quality first party games a year is like not easy. That's not
No.
an easy thing to do.
I mean, it's a point that I've gone back to since the Switch came out, which is the best thing they could have done was consolidate their development studios into developing for a unified platform rather than being like, all right, well, Intelligent Systems, are they developing for 3DS or Wii U? It's like,
Yep.
well, they're going to go for 3DS because that's the higher selling thing, which would leave months at the Wii U library before we got like another game. And it's like, all right, well, now we just have all of these developers who are used to developing for either a handheld or a console to work together to fill this calendar, and they've done a really great job of doing that.
Yeah, genuinely. It's my favorite part of kind of owning a Switch too. Like I just like that I have something to play every month, and even if it's not good, I'm like, great. But like I get to talk to people about it. Cool, that's great.
Definitely makes this podcast easier.
I know.
All right, let's get to those movie trailers and updates
Please.
that we got during last week's CinemaCon. Surprising amount of video game movie news. Are video game movies the new superhero movie?
I've been saying this for years. Absolutely. I think that Hollywood is very trend based. It is historically kind of like a thing works, and then every studio is going to try and replicate that because until it stops making money, right? So you saw that with the superhero movie going back. And I think people like pretend like what was happening with Marvel was unique. Like, oh, Hollywood is uniquely messed up right now by doing this. But like, that was the Western, you know what I mean? Or like the musical back in the day. Like they have always been trend based in this way since the beginning of cinema history, and I see this as an extension of that. So yeah, I actually do think that. I think we are in a period of like the video game adaptation is 100% the new superhero movie. It's lucrative when they do it right. The Minecraft movie is Sonic, Mario, all this stuff works. And you are also going to hit a point where it crashes and burns, where someone's like, oh, okay, can we do Bubsy? Will people watch a Bubsy movie? And then it's like, why didn't Bubsy work? And then you'll have like a very funny period like 10 years from now where it's like, whoa, these weird bombs that are in the box office are fascinating to see.
So what was the start of that trend? Was it Sonic 1?
I would say Sonic 1. Yeah, I think that accelerated it. I think you saw experimentation before it with Detective Pikachu and whatnot. But I think Sonic 1 was like, oh, this movie actually did well and people kind of liked it. And like audiences liked it, especially because it was like actually kind of reverent to the video game and wasn't what Hollywood used to do, which was like, we don't care about the game, we're smarter than that. I think that's a big one. And I think on the TV side, like Last of Us has accelerated that, and I think Fallout is accelerating that big as well. But yeah, I think Sonic 1, I think you could probably pin it to. This is really like a 6-year-old trend at this point.
So there is an alternate universe where COVID hits 2 weeks earlier.
Yes.
And we don't get this trend because it stopped Sonic 1 from hitting theaters and, making how much money it did.
Yeah, no, 100%. We almost dodged it. If you hate all these movies, like go back in time, and like get Sonic delayed by 2 weeks, and we're home free. But I kind of like the trend. I don't think it's producing like a ton of great movies, but like it's fun to see some of them.
Yeah. All right. So let's start with some of the quick stuff here in terms of like the video game movie news we've gotten over the last like week and a half.
Yeah.
So the Legend of Zelda movie has officially wrapped filming. And alongside that news, director of photography Gyula Pados posted a photo on Instagram sharing what appears to be concept art of Link. And I've got to say that, like, if you haven't seen this image, which has since been deleted from their Instagram, it looks pretty awesome. We don't know if this is like just a placeholder image or if it's just the look they're going for, but it looks very like Twilight Princess-esque in terms of like having Link rocking like a green tunic, having a bit more of like a mature, like kind of combat ready look to him. And also, interestingly enough, it says umami on the image in big letters, which, I mean, it could potentially be the production code name, which is, something that typically is given by the production team to like, so if they have to reserve a venue, it's not saying like, hey, everyone, The Legend of Zelda is shooting here tomorrow. It's, there's a little bit like I remember I was an extra in The Dark Knight Rises in the football scene where Bane blows up the football stadium. So I was among the first people to ever hear his iconic voice. And it was even worse than it was in the movie. Like I was just like, really? That's the voice he's going for? And And they had a Magnus Rex was the code name for the Dark Knight Rises, and it was everywhere around the city of Pittsburgh at the time. Just like, this venue is closed for at the reservation of Magnus Rex, or for the production of Magnus Rex, and like eventually everybody around town knew what that meant. But yeah, so like that's maybe a hint at what the production name is or code name. But Gio, this movie comes out May 7th, 2027, just over a year from now. For all of these movies that we talk about, I'm going to ask you for your hype rating. And the scale is, I will be there opening night. I will see it while it's in theaters. I'll catch it on streaming. I'll watch it on an airplane. Or I will never see this movie, even if my life and the lives of my loved ones depend on it.
That's a really good rating scale. Yeah, that covers all the bases. Okay, cool.
For Zelda.
So my rating for this one, I think for now, until I see more of it beyond a costume and some screenshots of people hanging out in a field, I'll see it while it's in theaters. I don't necessarily know that I have to be there opening night for it. I think, if the trailer comes out and it really, really is like, oh, they're really capturing something about Zelda here, great. If it looks terrible, I still am going to see that in theaters just because it's Zelda, and that is an interesting thing to see them mess up if they mess it up. But I think I'll need to see a little bit more to really know. The thing I'm really just interested in is like the fact that production image features that like green tunic and that Twilight Princess thing is surprising to me, because I thought they were going to do Breath of the Wild, not like an adaptation of it, but I thought they were going with that like art style, the modern like Zelda blue tunic, kind of look. So I'm actually kind of surprised, and that actually makes me a little bit intrigued to see like if they're a little more indebted to classic Zelda games, and yeah, some of the like fun melodrama of Twilight Princess, that would get me up. But right now, I'll see it in theaters. Don't necessarily need to see it opening night unless that trailer is like, we're doing Ocarina of Time and it looks great. Well, then that'll elevate it.
There was another picture that came out posted by somebody on the production team, and it was just like, I think it was like the team behind like principal photography or something, and they were posing on the set, and like it was primarily I would say like 95% of the picture was the team, but there were the backdrop of the set, people are dissecting it that it looks an awful lot like Ocarina of Time's Temple of Time. So
that would do it. I would be there day one. I would be there.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It's either that people have surmised it's either the Temple of Time or it is the courtyard where Link and Zelda first meet in Ocarina of Time, where they're looking through the window at Ganondorf. So it's one of those two, based on like kind of like the way the set looks. But like it's a very, very like, it is the corner of this part of the image and then a corner of this, and you see kind of like, looks like kind of like blue screen on the ground, and there's like a walkway in the middle, so there's going to be some sort of like CG element.
Cool. Knowing what Nintendo did with Mario, I assume it's going to be a hodgepodge of a bunch of references to Zelda games and not like a super coherent adaptation of anything. But like, I think it would be kind of smart if they started with Ocarina, which is like a very foundational Zelda story, and then you can like build off and get weird from there. Yeah,
absolutely. I always thought it would be funny if they recast Link and Zelda every single movie.
Yes.
Just play into the fact that these are different heroes and different princesses.
They're going to do the Illumination Toon Link next.
I mean, you never know, but
it could happen.
Sony is in charge of that one. And then the next thing that we got was Paramount has confirmed it is releasing a Call of Duty movie on June 30th, 2028. The script will be written by Mr. Paramount himself, Taylor Sheridan, who's the creator of Yellowstone and Landman, as well as several other Paramount shows. He's basically Mr. Paramount Plus these days, so it makes sense that Paramount would want to do business with him on something big like this. We don't know anything about this, but do you think they're going to like actually try to adapt like any kind of individual story, or do you think that this is just going to be like a war movie with Call of Duty branding slapped on it? Are we going to get like soap?
I think it's going to be a war movie with Call of Duty branding snapped on it. Like the thing is like there's so many different eras of Call of Duty where it's like that could mean it's either a World War II drama, It could mean that it's like a modern espionage movie. It could mean that it's in space. Like Call of Duty means nothing, and the idea of adapting Call of Duty is so stupid to me because I'm like, so you're adapting guns. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing to Call of Duty other than guns thematically, right? Like unless you are very specifically being like, this is, Black Ops, and maybe it is Black Ops, but the fact that the Yellowstone guy is involved with it tells me like, I bet it's going to be a little bit more historical. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this is a World War II show or something like that. And at that point, it's just guns. Like it doesn't matter. I don't know. Hype level. Can you read me the bottom of your chart again? Because I think that's what I'm going to need to be operating in here.
So the bottom two are, I will watch it on an airplane, and I would not watch this even if my life depended on it and the lives of all of my loved ones.
I'm skewing towards that right now. Obviously, if the trailer comes out and it's interesting, cool, but it gives me like Halo show vibes, which like I did not watch under the safety of my loved ones or whatever as well. But it'll all depend on the footage. Who knows? But I don't know. I don't like the Call of Duty games that much, and I can't imagine that the show is going to change my mind too much. I don't watch Yellowstone. I don't know.
I have heard decent things about Landman, so
yeah, sure. But I'm just not 60 years old, you know what I mean? And fair. Like, if I was, I'm sure this would be the coolest news ever. I'm not quite there yet. I'm getting there. I'm not quite there.
I think I'll really have to see, because I mean, this is a new announcement. We did a little bit of hype rankings last week, where I think that I'm going to see the Zelda movie opening night, regardless of how it looks, because Zelda is just my favorite franchise.
Yeah.
And then Call of Duty, I think I will probably watch it once it comes out on streaming, with the upward or downward mobility in the hype ranking, depending on how it looks and or word of mouth.
Yeah.
So like, it might be one of those ones that I, will watch on an airplane at some point, or it might be something I see in theaters if people are like, no, this actually slaps. So that's where I'm at with that. But, we have 2 years before it hits theaters.
Yeah.
So the next one we got was, the A24 movie adaptation of Elden Ring, coming out in 2028. It is directed by Alex Garland, who is behind 28 Days Later, Ex Machina, Annihilation, and Civil War. And we got a cast list for this one. Kit Connor, Ben Whishaw, Kaylee Spaney, Tom Burke, and Nick Offerman, among many other names. Nick Offerman just doing all of the game adaptations at this point. Yeah, good for him. Exactly. Movie is set to be shot in IMAX, so I bet they're going for a lot of spectacle with some of the battles and everything. What would you even want to see from an Elden Ring movie by Alex Garland?
I literally don't know. I mean, here's the thing. The Elden Ring games, or the Dark Souls games, or the From Software games, like, the play is the thing that's interesting about them. Like, I know that people are lore sickos, and that's cool. But like, that's not story, like that's not like thematic story to me necessarily. And like the actual dialogue in those games, I'm like, good night, like I don't care. It's like meant for YouTube lore videos. So I don't know. I want to see like really good art design. Like I just want to see really weird guys, and for it to really go in on like building out a world that is like fantastical and like terrifying, and like a little bit of a visual nightmare. I think that's kind of what I want, more than something that is like a big lore-driven story that sticks to the game. And I think this has like a lot of potential if it is that, right? If it's just this kind of like Greek myth odyssey, in some way, where it's just kind of like, this feels like watching a myth that is like foreign and strange and alien, but grounded in like history that, isn't our real world, but like I don't know, like something like that. If it can nail that, and just make something very surreal and like a surreal horror movie almost, you know what I mean? Day one, I will be there the night it comes out. Absolutely. I will probably be there the night it comes out anyways, because if this thing is terrible, God, I can't wait to see how. You know what I mean? Like Zelda, like that movie could be really bad in like a really boring way, right? Just like, that stinks. Elden Ring, I don't think there's a world in which it's just like bad and boring. Like that's either got to be like incredible, very good, or like the craziest disaster that has ever hit video game movies, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I love this. It's so gonzo. Day one, 100%.
So in my conversations with Hidetaka Miyazaki, I recently did a Souls like huge retrospective and like talking about the evolution and proliferation of the Souls like genre. His driving force for pioneering the Souls like genre was integrating death into the gameplay. Do you think that there is a way that they can do that, like kind of like Edge of Tomorrow style, where it's like the tarnished dies and then like wakes up at the bonfire and then like has to go collect, like there's something there that they could play off of, like maybe not have it be like we have to do trial and error for everything, but like
they could, but it kind of, I don't love when video game movies try and be like, we're playing with the language of video games. Like didn't Until Dark also do a sort of like weird like meta?
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, not Until Dark. Thank you. Until Dawn did like a weird meta thing. Yeah, actually, that's as far away as it could have been. Yeah, like I would rather you just treat it as a different medium. You know what I mean? And accept the fact that like, what does bringing this game into film look like, and what are like the cinematic tools that we can use, as opposed to being like, oh, let's try and like justify like respawning in this world. Like I think embrace the fact that these are two different things, and embrace the fact that like there's interesting storytelling in Elden Ring that is like emergent and there for players to discover, and be like, okay, well, but let's like turn that into script, and like take some of the subtext and some of the stuff that is like thematic that people have picked up on and interpreting it, and make that like a coherent story that makes sense for movies. So yeah, I death makes sense for the games. I don't necessarily think that translates unless someone in the audience got every screening of it, then I'm interested. It should be dangerous to go see this movie. That's what I think.
Maybe don't watch that one on an airplane.
No, please, God, no. Yeah.
So just as we have since the 1990s, we have competition between Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat.
Wow.
Mortal Kombat 2 is out in 2 weeks from when this episode hits.
Is it?
And tickets are on sale now. So naturally, we got a new trailer for it. The trailer focuses on a ton of characters. We don't get any glimpses of Cole, who was the character they created for the first movie as the protagonist. Yeah. We got an Ed Boon cameo before we got Cole showing up. Ed Boon is the bartender for Johnny Cage. And
beautiful.
It seemed like Cole was kind of like the character that most people disliked in the first movie, just solely because he's not in the game, which I get. I rewatched it actually on my flight back from Europe last week, and I was like, it's still fine. Like, it's still a perfectly okay movie. But do you think they outright ditch him now that Johnny Cage is seemingly the main character of this?
Yeah, I think honestly, introducing a character like that, like a new character for a movie, sometimes is just there to be like an anchor character to like ground an audience that doesn't know things, right, about Mortal Kombat. So it's like, well, like Scorpion's not much of a good anchor character because like that weird character, right? And I almost get the sense that like they did that character so that it could be the eyes in which you see this world through, right? Like your stand-in as like an avatar in this movie. And now that they did the ground building of like establishing that world and getting the audience that doesn't necessarily know the game like situated, it feels like you can kind of push that out of the way and be like, okay, these other characters now, you get the function, like how this world works and everything. I think that's the right call. Like if that character doesn't really have a function other than that and doesn't have an arc, like, yeah, just get into the actual characters,
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I do like the actor. His name is escaping me, even though I interviewed him. But I also get people's criticisms of him because just like, I don't want to see, if I go to a Mortal Kombat movie, I don't want to see characters not from Mortal Kombat. I want to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero fight, which you do get in the first movie. I want to see, Johnny Cage, who was not in the first movie, which was crazy to me.
Yeah.
But they're rectifying that with the second one, which is out on May 8th, which, the next question, what is your hype level?
Airplane movie. I mean, like I didn't even know if I actually ended up seeing the first one. I think maybe I did, but like pretty forgettable to me. Just like, okay, that's a movie. I don't have a lot of like deep fan love for Mortal Kombat. It's something that I know and have played and enjoy, but like not like a game I'm a sicko for. So from an outside perspective, I'm like, this just looks like one of those like C tier February action movies that just happens to be coming out at like blockbuster time. If I hear that it's good or like fun, total like still probably airplane movie. You know what I mean? Just realistically, unless it turns out to be like the summer blockbuster, in which case like, okay, maybe. Yeah, maybe I'll go do that. But I just don't have enough investment, and nothing I've seen from it tells me that it's going to be that much different than the first one in terms of it. So, airplane, that's respectable though. Sometimes you want to watch a movie on an airplane.
Yeah, and I forgot to say I was probably on wait till streaming for Elden Ring, and
Yeah.
I'll probably see Mortal Kombat 2 while it's in theaters, but not opening night.
Yep.
Like, I don't know, they're fun popcorn movies, and you know what better way to take in a fun popcorn movie than in a movie theater with a bucket of popcorn?
100%.
But yeah, we'll see how the reception is, because I also might just end up, if it gets bad reviews or bad word of mouth, because you know reviews on video game movies they have to take it with a grain of salt, because it's like, what do you want from a video game movie, right? Do you really need like The Last of Us season 1, where it's like just the most contemplative, like serious, like we are acting and we are writing very serious dialogue? Or do you want like, you know, just a fun time that like pays homage to a game you really love? And like, that's the question that like you have to answer that before you make your true decision about what you're going to go see.
100%. I agree.
So the final movie that we're going to talk about here is the Street Fighter movie, which continues to look like the most ridiculous major video game film I have seen in a long time. And it looks like it also could maybe be the most fun movie that is ever released to theaters. There's not a good way to not have a great time watching this, if the trailers are any indication.
Yeah.
Like, the cast is just ridiculous. It's, you know, Jason Momoa is Blanca. And, like,
Yeah.
Roman Reigns is in it. Cody Rhodes. David Dastmalchian is M. Bison, which I still can't wrap my head around. 50 Cent is
Eric
Balrog.
Andre? Yeah, Eric Andre, I think,
is like an
isn't it?
announcer
Like,
character, I think.
Yeah, very strange, and I'm really into that. I've seen quite a few clips of it, especially you know, like WrestleMania just happened and they were just doing so many like promotions for the movie because of that. I'm actually probably a wait for streaming one on this though. Unless it really does turn out to be just like a blast and people are like, this is camp done right, and it is like so gloriously campy and it totally gets it. My worry is that it's going to be a little bit more like it's trying to do that but doesn't land it. And I hope to be wrong, and I hope that it is just like over the top and goofy and like borderline a straight up comedy. And if it pulls that off, like, I'm pretty in. But I do kind of see a world where it's like not it's a little too self-serious, even if it's not very self-serious, you know, and it's like, no, but we're doing Street Fighter, you know, and like this is still going to be like a story that, you know, that like where we're trying to say something here. Like, I think the best version of this movie is just like a slapstick comedy from what I've seen so far. And I worry that it's going to be like only halfway to that, and that could make it a little like fun visuals, but maybe a little bit more of a slog. But I think it has like a Speed Racer potential. You know what I mean? Like, people love Speed Racer because it's just like so like visually inventive and like bonkers. But like, I think there's a critics class of audience, right? That's kind of like, this is nonsense. It's just like candy coated trash. But you know, it's gotten a cult following because like people see something in it. And there's a world in which Street Fighter ends up being that. And I still probably think it's a wait for streaming for me, because I just want to like wait to find out if that's the case. With all of these things, I'm probably going to watch all of them when they come out because it's my job to do it.
Yeah.
But if I chose, that's probably where I'd be at. But it depends. I don't know.
This may be the one that I'm most excited for,
Hell
because
yeah.
it just looks so ridiculous. It looks like if you've seen Guile's hair in this movie, or if you've seen not M. Bison, that's the Japanese name, Balrog's hair.
Yes.
In this, like, they are just going for it. And I appreciate, like, as much as I love, like, okay, we're going to take this seriously and we're going to do like the story that like people want, and we're going to pay just like, you know, we're going to give it the serious lip service, you know, treatment for that, like people who have grown up with these movies want. I also respect the hell out of a movie that just goes for it. And this
Yeah.
looks like the ultimate, like, we're going for it movie. And
Yeah.
unless I like see red flags, which I have not seen any so far, I am so bought into this. Like, the first time I saw the cast, I was like, okay, that was the first time I had a red flag. But then as soon as I saw it, I was like, I get it. Like, the first footage of it was so over the top and fun.
Yeah, I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there is a chance in which this is like better than any of the movies that we have talked about here, and it like totally gets what it's doing. I'm just like, I've
You've
seen
been
a
hurt
lot of
before.
movies. I've seen a lot of movies, game movies, try to do the like campy, over the top thing and like totally botch it. So like I'm cautious. I'm cautious.
I get
but we'll
that.
see. Yeah.
Well, comes out this October. We are done with all of the movie stuff, but before we take our only break of this episode, Gio, you have played a game that recently hit Switch 2 as well as every other platform, and that is Pragmata. So
Yeah.
let's do a brief discussion on your thoughts of this game. I've only played the demo, unfortunately, so I'm not going to have much to contribute here.
Okay. Well, you've kind of gotten the sense of the entire game from the demo. That is the loop of the game. Complimentary. Pragmata is great. For folks who don't know, it is a new Capcom joint. It is a third-person shooter where you are an astronaut named Hugh who's on a moon base that is, a crew. Things have gone nuts there. The rogue AI, all these like basic sci-fi tropes. And while you are there, you find an android who looks and acts like a young girl named Diana, who at first is trying to like help you and like, let me help you. And Hugh's like, don't get away from me. What are you? And then immediately she jumps on his back and like hacks a robot. And it turns out that like, like I can't damage these robots unless she hacks them first. And you get this like gameplay system where you are shooting robots at the same time that you are doing a hacking puzzle mini game where you have to do like a little maze. And on the gameplay side, it is a blast. It is such a novel concept. It's like one of those like just like ideas that you would used to see, I think, when like people were still figuring out like what is a 3D video game, right? When it was like Killer 7, I don't know, like what is the idea? Like how do you play a shooter in 3D? I don't know. And where you would just see a lot of like experimentation that I think sometimes now you don't see quite as much, just because there's a lot of established design language of like, well, we know how a shooter plays, and left trigger, right trigger, you shoot, right? And this idea of like shooting and doing this maze puzzle with like I think like the face buttons on your controller, and then like using the triggers to shoot, just like feels great. It's really smart. It's like makes you engage with shooting in a way that is like so different than any other game does it. Getting really quick with doing those mazes because an enemy is approaching you, and it's like, can I get this hack off before, or do I need to dodge and get out of the way? Like there's so much risk calculation that happens in there. That's so great. And the heart of it, I think, is just like this relationship between Hugh and Diana. And a lot of people have talked about this, but like it is a game about parenting. But that sounds annoying because a lot of games are about parenting now, right? Like every time somebody wants to make like a serious prestige game, it's like a dad and their kid, and he kind of hates their kid a lot, but like they learns that kids are fine, maybe, right? Like that's The Last of Us.
Now imagine if a man had a child.
Imagine if a man had a soul. That's the game that we're trying to make. It's like, whoa, oh my God, what a fantasy. But what I think is really nice about this game, and I don't think it comes across when you read about it, and you really have to play it to like get this, is
Which, by the way, don't read about this game online. It is nobody has the capability to be normal about this game, I have found.
It's a very strange one. Yeah, just like go into it like a normal person and see what you think.
Avoid the online discourse is all I can say.
Very strange. From the outside, I think I've seen people who are kind of like, oh, this is going to be another Last of Us, like sad dad, or, God of War sad dad game. And I get where you would think that, but it is like a joyfully happy game. It is like a really, really upbeat, kind game that is like very specifically about adoption. Like I think people have talked about like it's a dad game, but like it's specifically an adoption game. It is like about Hugh becoming a sort of adoptive father for this child, and like his character, Hugh and Diana have conversations through this games where it's like, hey, tell me about your parents. And he was like, oh, I was adopted. I had adopted parents and I love them. They're the best in the world. They were so cool and they encouraged me to do this and they taught me this. And Diana's like, oh, cool. That's like how you're treating me. And you're like, oh my God, you're right. I am. And it's just cool to see like an action game that is like very sweet at its core, where like the conflict isn't like, and everything is like gruff and the world sucks and you hate your kid, but sometimes you find out you like your kid. It's like, it's novel in the way that it is like kind-hearted. And I think it shows that you can be elevated and like tell a story in games without having to default to like everything sucks, like it can be a little like light and fun and still be like thematically meaningful. There are weird nuances to that kind of make that read of the game tricky, especially because Diana is not a person. she is a robot, and there's weird conversations that come up about like, well, we're like assigning a lot of personality to a robot at a time where like a lot of people are assigning personality to robots, and maybe that's not a good thing. But I think if you can like suspend your disbelief and go like, obviously this machine is meant to stand in for a person, and this is not like modern generative AI. The parenting story from Hugh's side that is sort of like learning that like having a kid can actually be really fun, and the way it bakes that into the gameplay of like they're going on an adventure together, like she is helping him as much as he's helping her. It's not like, oh, this dumb thing I have to protect, I'm doing an escort mission, right? It's like, yeah, my pal, my sidekick, who like I can't do things without, like I need them as much as they need me. I think that's really sweet. And there's plenty of criticism you could kind of like dig into with that premise, but I just think it's like kind-hearted. It's super fun. It's a really novel and interesting gameplay mechanic. And it's just fun to play, man. That's good old Capcom.
Capcom's on a roll this year.
Whew. Tell me about it.
They are in the running for Publisher of the Year easily right now. Like they are running away with it, I would say. Man,
there's a world in which like these guys sweep the Game Awards, right? Like, or something seriously. Like that.
Resident Evil, Pragmata, what's Monster Hunter?
Monster Hunter Story 3, great RPG. And then like technically, I guess Street Fighter is Capcom. Like that's like a best adaptation possibility, right? So yeah, man, I think they're on a generational run, and like Onimusha is supposed to happen this year still. So like we might just get like 4 like Capcom bangers and like a pretty good movie, like, and that would be unheard of. Like I don't know who does it like at that level of quality. Even Nintendo, we were talking about like they do a game a month, but like I don't know that they're doing a game a month up to the quality of Resident Evil and Pragmata. That's impressive.
I mean, really, the only Nintendo game so far this year that would really like kind of be in that conversation was not even developed by Nintendo, and it was Pokopia.
Yeah, Tamagotchi Life. I love it, but it ain't in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, Pragmata is available now on Switch 2 and every other major platform. I'm very much looking forward to playing this. I've just not had a chance because I've been, flying all over the place lately. So, this has been a very, very busy month. But we are going to take our only break of this episode. And when we return, Gio and I are going to be delivering some pitches for what we'd like to see for the next entries of our favorite Nintendo franchises. We will be right back. We are back, and I talk a good deal about the kinds of video games I would like to see while I record this podcast. So I figured we would take this second segment of this episode to do kind of a fun exercise centered around that. So, Gio, I have asked you to come prepared. We're not going to do like, a pitch deck or anything like that. Like, we're not going to be doing PowerPoint presentations here like our good friend Jesse Vitelli likes to have people do at parties. But we are going to be pitching 3 games, 3 new entries in established franchises. I kept mine strictly to Nintendo. I do have one that is a third-party kind of honorable mention that if you take my other franchises, I will I'll pull that one out and dust it off. So
okay.
We're just basically going to give like, hey, it would be cool if they did this with the franchise, and like talk a little bit about it. Not anticipating this being too long of a segment, but just a fun exercise that we can like, share ideas that we've been ruminating on for whatever reason, because when you work in this space, it turns out your brain just never shuts off when you're thinking about video games or playing video games. So it's like you see something, you're like, oh, I bet we could do that. Like, I have always wanted like a Home Alone tower defense game. Like, I think that would be so much fun.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's such a high bar to start this with.
That's not even going to be one of my
I know.
suggestions, but that is one of them that I've always thought like a Home Alone tower defense game would slap. So
No.
that's the kind of thing we're looking for here. Gio, I'll give you as the guest the first shot here. What do you have for us?
Let's start with Star Fox, because there's a lot of rumor right now about like new Star Fox game, like what's it going to be? And I think everyone's been like, we want classic Star Fox, right? We want like go space shooter that's like a couple hours long and you go through and you fight Andross. Cool. Let me offer a twist on that. You don't want that, because they've tried to do that 100 times and you've proven time and time again that you do not want that anytime they do it. But here's the twist that I will offer. If you look at the structure of a Star Fox game, what is it, right? What if we go back to Star Fox 64? It is like you go through a bunch of biomes one by one, and you defeat them, and you get as far as you can. And then if you don't get far enough, you die, and you start from the bottom. And you can do like different paths as you go, and like you get different power-ups as you go. The space shooter that Star Fox is operating in is very spiritually linked to a roguelike, I think, in some ways. And I think they should make a Star Fox roguelike that is the structure of a classic shoot 'em up. It's the structure of Star Fox 64, except when you go through those levels and you try to get to Andross every time, you get different power-ups for your ship. You can go on different paths as you can do in Star Fox 64. I'm thinking of like Absalom. If you played Absalom last year, which did this for the beat 'em up, it was like, hey, the beat 'em up is like kind of a roguelike in some weird way if we turn a couple of knobs. Do that same idea, right? There are different paths within levels that you can kind of like open up. So each run is a little bit different because you can go here and do this and go here and do this, and let you like build up your ship and find that power so that you can like defeat Andross at the end. And as a little twist, you make it so you have 4 playable characters that each plays a little bit differently in that like Slay the Spire kind of way, right? Where it's like you have Fox, you have Slippy, you have Peppy Hare, and you have Falco. Each one is a little different like perk that they have, and you can choose them, and you do co-op. You do a co-op play that allows you to do that run, that space shooter run with 4 players, and you can really build it up. That to me is like the perfect Star Fox game for 2026, and I think like is kind of the thing that people would actually want more than just kind of like, here's Star Fox 64. We've tried to do this 100 times. You don't like it any of the times we do it.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic way to kick this off, especially since I have a roguelike pitch as well.
Ooh.
For a different franchise, but we'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk Star Fox. One of the pitches that I had, which was just like, let's reintroduce this franchise with kind of an ultimate remake of 64, because they've tried to do it, like you said, so many times. They 64 itself is a retelling of the events of Star Fox SNES.
Yeah.
Star Fox Zero tried to retell the events again, and it's just like, all right, what is the canonical thing? Give us the jumping off point. Even give us like a prequel mission where you're playing as James McCloud, and like, then the betrayal happens, and then with Pigma, and then that's the tutorial mission, and then that gives way to your story of like, all right, this is actually how the definitive events of Star Fox 64 happens. That could be the $20 game we were talking about last segment.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Then gives way to what you are talking about right now, which is a roguelike. That is a fantastic idea. I don't know if you've heard about the Retro Games failed pitch for Star Fox.
No.
He was an artist. I think this was like two or 3 years ago. He came out and he posted on social media, I think it might have been his LinkedIn, that he had a pitch that he delivered. He was like a lead like artist or something.
Yeah.
He brought to Retro Studios leadership this pitch where it leaned into the mercenary aspect of Star Fox, where it's a direct sequel to Star Fox 64. The Cornerian War is done. Andross is gone. Basically now, there's all these factions that are rising and trying to take over the Lilat system. You are hired by the Cornerian government to go around and clean up all these things. And you're also helping with the Cornerian rebuild of like the planet was decimated, so now you're helping with the rebuild. So every time you take on these missions, you go around, you get a reward, you choose which missions you want to take on, kind of Mass Effect style, and then you get your payout at the end, and you can choose what amount of that you want to keep for yourself to upgrade your ships and everything, and what amount you want to send back home to progress the rebuild effort. And the ultimate goal was to rebuild Corneria back to its former glory after Andros attacked it and burned it to the ground basically. And it really played into that mercenary aspect of it. And unfortunately, it sounded like Retro Studios shot it down and never even brought it to Nintendo.
Oh God.
So that that sounds like a really cool way to go about it too. But I think that your idea, structurally especially, is particularly fascinating.
Yeah, man, the shoot 'em up is not that different, right? It's like old arcade games have a lot in common with roguelikes. It's like you go, you die, you start again, and you have to rebuild all your strength up again, when you go through these games. So like, I don't know, like logical conclusion. Have like the team that made Absalom help you make that, just like give the keys to them and be like, can you make a really retro shoot 'em up roguelike in the style of Absalom? But it is a shoot 'em up. Do the same art, or do a similar art style, that like do like the anime art style that they do in the Galaxy
movie. Oh yes, I hope that's what they were hinting at with that sequence in the Galaxy movie, because I thought maybe they were going to do a Star Fox like spin-off movie or something with that art style, which would be sick. But if there's a game with that art style, I am more in on Star Fox than I have been since Star Fox 64.
100%.
So that is a great way to kick us off. Let's go to my roguelike pitch.
Yeah, please.
We're going to take The Legend of Zelda, and we are going to make it. This is going to be a spin-off game. This is not a mainline entry.
Okay.
You play as Ganon in this. And what happens at the end of every Zelda game? Ganon is defeated. So you start off, you're amassing power. Think kind of like Ocarina of Time, Tears of the Kingdom, Ganondorf story, where you're going through, you're accumulating power, you're getting more and more like stronger and stronger, whatever the artifact is of the game, you're gathering those, and Link defeats you, right? Like say Link defeats you, you're dead. Roguelite, you power up or whatever in between runs, you awaken. Not only is the world different, Hyrule's different, so too is the form that you take, so too is the art style. So you wake up and maybe now you're cell shaded Wind Waker style, or you wake up and it's kind of like the dreary Twilight Princess art style, or maybe it's Breath of the Wild like Ghibli style.
Yeah.
And that also brings with it different abilities that Link will have when you finally face off against him. But it starts off and like you are a Gerudo out in the desert, or maybe you're just like this giant beast that is, going around and like crawling in the shadows, and you have to go through and like conquer the regions of Hyrule, facing off against like whatever resistance the humans can put up or Hylians put up. And with the different rebirths come those different ability suites, different form factors, different gameplay styles. You can power up how you want, different artifacts that you have to collect. So like maybe they're the spiritual stones, maybe they're the secret stones.
Yeah.
And ultimately your goal is to conquer Hyrule. But then once you accomplish that goal, it's not game over. Then suddenly you are on the defensive. You are defending your kingdom against Link as he tries to take you down. Think Breath of the Wild, think Tears of the Kingdom. Whoa. So you are sending your minions out to try to take him out, or like setting up like where you want your bosses to sit. So it's this constant back and forth of like, how many times in a row can you win? How many times does it take you to break through and finally defeat this final boss that is Link in this game to like take him out? And I think there's so much cool stuff they could do with experimenting with different gameplay styles, different gameplay mechanics, different form factors, different traversal mechanics, different abilities that the boss that you are fighting would have to take you down. Like maybe he has a hook shot, maybe he has like the arrows of light, maybe Zelda's helping him in this battle. Just so many ways they could re-roll these battles and these scenarios. And I think that they're, because like, again, similar to the Star Fox gameplay format, the Zelda lore format is that, Ganon dies, or in some very minor or very, very rare instances, Link dies, and that sets you down a different path of history. And then as you complete these different cycles, you see the timeline develop and you learn like what the lore of Hyrule is as this your gameplay goes through.
Yes, I love the idea of like playing as the villains. Like, let me play as Twin Rova, right? And like, and let me do that. This, like, when you said Zelda roguelike, my initial thought was like, shut up. I was like, you don't think that. Like, stop. You're just saying things. But you're right. When I think about it, and this is like a second pitch to that, right? Like a different way you could do a Zelda roguelike if like Nintendo is like, you can't play as the villains. We can never let people play as the villains. Are you kidding me? Like, there is the idea of Link, there's always a hero of time, right? Like a different hero of time gets called to do these battles. You give Zelda to the team that did Rogue Legacy, right? That roguelike that's like, okay, you're doing a lineage of people, and each time you pick a character, they have a different trait. It's like, oh, this person, is like whatever, they're blind, or they have all these like different traits that they have that change the gameplay. You do that for Zelda, where it's like a new hero of time has been called. You have to pick a Link. This Link is left-handed. Like this Link is whatever. And you do that like 2D roguelike where you go to it. That would rock too. But I love your idea. I think that like letting people finally play as Ganondorf and treating Link as like Link always wins. So he's kind of the boss.
Yeah.
Like he's the one that's harder to defeat. I love that idea. I think that's cool.
And they could pull from all the different eras like they have in like Hyrule Warriors, like the first Hyrule Warriors, where it's like, all right, in this era, like the mini bosses are like the Guardians from Breath of the Wild. And like, those are the ones that are like, they're like the big bosses that you have to get through before you can get to Link, or like the God, what are they? The divine beasts. Those can be like the type of boss that you have to take down. And then ultimately the final boss of your run is Link. And or Zelda. Zelda also has proven to be quite formidable in some of these games as well. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of ways they could play with that. And I think that they should absolutely pursue that with like a studio that is well known for its work in like roguelites.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. I like that a lot. You want me to hit you with my number 2 here?
I was just about to ask.
Dude, I'm going to go left field for this one. And people are going to get mad at me, but it's a good idea, and you will understand why. Nintendo used to be really good at doing puzzle games. This was like part of Nintendo's DNA early on that has been completely lost, right? Like you do not really get games like Dr. Mario anymore. You just don't. They tried to do that for a while on mobile. They were like, maybe we'll like try Dr. Mario World and bring it back there. Get back into the match 3 game, in some way. And they kind of just didn't, right? And we don't get those games anymore on Switch because I think Nintendo is trying the separation between like a handheld game and a console game has made it so a lot of those like casual quick experiences, we just don't get them as much anymore because everything is like, well, it can be console quality, so we don't need to do those. I love puzzle games. I think they're great. I think there's a lot of potential for Nintendo to bring that back and be really inventive with them. So I'm going to pitch a return to Nintendo mobile gaming. Don't get mad at me. Some of those games were good. Pikmin. Match 3 puzzle Pikmin. Hear me out. The Pikmin are all different colors. So you have this built-in idea of like matching the Pikmin, right? It's like the red Pikmin or the blue Pikmin. You match 3 of them, whatever. Here's the twist that you do. It's a match 3 puzzle game. And on the top of the screen, an object or an item or an obstacle or something comes up, right? An enemy that has to be defeated, a thing that you're supposed to pick up, whatever comes up there. And it is your job to match together Pikmin to like deploy them, right? So it's like you match 3 red Pikmin, you deploy them and they go and they start to pick up the thing, right? And you make a puzzle game that is like all about doing the things that you do in Pikmin, but the way you are deploying them is through that match 3 element. And you have to be really strategic because if you're fighting a fire enemy, I don't want to match my water Pikmin or my blue Pikmin. I want to be very careful to match as many red Pikmin as I can in here so that like, my Pikmin don't die. So you have to be very careful about like your combos and whatnot, right? To make sure that you are optimizing, sending as many red Pikmin as you can. You're picking up treasure by sending enough Pikmin. Maybe there's like a time limit, like, you have to do it in this amount of time to be able to pick this thing up. And you just give me that like classic match 3 puzzle game that just has like a little bit of an element on top of it that has that little bit of Pikmin play. You base it around the fact that these things are all different colors, that they have like distinct abilities, and you just give me like a classic Nintendo puzzle game in a Pikmin spin-off that like they have had a hard time spinning that series off into anything. They haven't tried it much. They tried it like once, twice. I guess Pikmin Bloom was a thing as well.
I think that's still going strong, right?
I think it is. Yeah, it's cute. I like Pikmin Bloom. But yeah, Pikmin puzzle game. It's right there. I love it. I love this
It
idea.
is. Yeah, I didn't even think about the colors of the Pikmin. Like that makes so much sense. And like Nintendo, like they've been throwing everything at the wall when it comes to mobile games. I mean, they've kind of pumped the brakes a little bit as of late, but like there is definitely something there where they could play with the colors of Pikmin and like the different types of Pikmin.
Yeah.
Also, Shigeru Miyamoto recently came out and said like he's going to do everything in his power to inject Pikmin into everything that he can, which I mean, good for him. I mean, that's always been like his favorite franchise. Like he loves Pikmin so much.
He's right. He's right too. It's great. It's one of his best ideas.
I mean, that's why they're in the Mario Galaxy movie. That's why they're in, like, if you go to Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios, they're all over the place there. Like, he loves Pikmin, and I'm so happy that it brings him so much joy because he deserves it. Let's be real. Like, and so, yeah, he tried to do, like, the Shigeru Miyamoto mobile game already with Mario Run.
Yeah.
You know, mixed results. There was some good stuff in there. But I could see a world where that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if there's any other like Nintendo game that makes sense to have a match 3, especially color-based match 3.
Yeah, not in a way that's as strong. There's like Pokemon has done it, but I guess Pokemon's kind of its own thing.
Like there's like Battle Trozai.
Yeah, exactly. But like the idea is built in there, and if you can build in like, oh, you're doing a match 3 for a reason, and you're managing like stuff on the screen, and you're like collecting treasure and like you're getting your points from the treasure you collect, you know, or something like that. You know, however, that's for a game designer to figure out. I'm just the ideas guy. I think there's something there, man. I think there's something there.
I would agree with you. I would check out a Pikmin mobile game, although that I'm a lot less likely to check that out than I am the Star Fox roguelite. But you know,
this is like this is a sickos game. Like Star Fox roguelite is for everyone. This is like for me.
All right. Well, my number 2 here is, Nintendo loves its brand partnerships in this era. In the Switch era, you know, they've worked with Illumination. They've worked with Universal to make, you know, the Super Nintendo world. They have merchandising out the wazoo. One of the things that they love a lot, and speaking of Shigeru Miyamoto, when I met with him, I mentioned this partnership. And he lit up. It was the biggest reaction that I got from him when I brought up this word. It was one word that I said that he, before the translator even said it, he smiled so big ear to ear. Lego.
Okay.
I am shocked we have not already gotten this. Lego Super Mario Brothers. Think about it. A traditional Mario platformer. It could be 2D, could be 3D. I think 2D would maybe be the better way to go about this. Don't have it play like a Lego game like you think of like with like Lego, like Marvel, whatever, or Lego Star Wars. Have it actually play like a Mario game, but everything, all the graphics, don't have them be like cartoony looking. Have them be like almost photorealistic Lego visuals. So like, you know, you have the fire sticks coming, and you know the bars look like real Lego bricks, and Mario, Luigi, all the characters look like they're just like real Legos on your screen running around. When you break a brick, it breaks into a bunch of like Lego pieces, and you know, have it be like a tried and true Mario game. Have it be so like all the characters are represented, all the enemies look like they're Lego forms. You know, Nintendo's really leaning into this partnership. You know, they have Zelda, they have Mario, they now have Pokemon under the Lego banner. Sounds like they're doing even more. Don't they have Animal Crossing as well? Like, so many Lego partnerships. I am shocked, given Lego's history in video games, that there has not been a Lego Mario game already. And then, Gio, on top of that, on top of this full Mario game spelled out in Lego, like built literally brick by brick in Lego graphics, you can have a Mario Maker style mode on the side of it. So, you know, literally building your Mario sets out of Legos and then sharing them, because it seems like the Mario Maker franchise is no longer a priority for Nintendo. Ever since Mario Maker 2 didn't really sell how they wanted it to, it seems like they've kind of put that idea back on the back burner. I think this would be a fun and inventive way to bring that back, but also, have it be on the side instead of the main selling point. They already have all the tools ported over to Switch. They just have to make it so the art style and like the item set and the object set are like, retrofitted for the Lego aesthetic.
Man, that is what we would call a $1 billion idea. That would make the most money that anything has ever made ever. If you said the words Lego Mario game, would instantly save the economy. The Dow Jones would have a historic high. It would just be like, oh, okay, we don't have to worry about money anymore. Nintendo's going to make all of it. That's brilliant. I mean, like, especially if you could really capture that brick by brick art style that I think a lot of Lego games have done very well. I think even like Lego Horizon, actually kind of captured that pretty well. And you were to just do like a classic 2D side scroller, which like Wonder did a great job at like revitalizing the 2D side scroller. But before that, like they were kind of struggling to make the Mario platformer like new, right? Like all of those like new Super Mario games were kind of like, yeah, it's another one of these, like not a lot of new ideas, right? It's just kind of one of these. But if you were to give it that kind of like, visual flair, that kind of unique style, and if you were to bring in that Mario Maker aspect and like make it very much about building, and even give Mario and some of those levels like a building ability, you know what I mean? Like where it's like you can interact with the levels in that way and it becomes about like constructing the environment a little bit. Man, $1 billion, recession averted. We'd somehow become billionaires. Nintendo would be like, we're doing UBI. Like we've made enough money that we can do universal basic income for everybody. We're giving you a check. Here's your stimulus. Yeah, 100%. Great idea.
All right. So that brings us to your third and final idea, Gio. What is it?
Okay. My third idea. This is a cheat because it's not technically a first-party Nintendo franchise, but it is something that is, I think at this point, one of Nintendo's tentpole things, even though it is third-party. And that is the Warriors franchise, which is to say Koei Tecmo's games that it does in collaboration with Nintendo now, where it says, hey, we're going to do Hyrule Warriors. It's going to be a Dynasty Warriors-like game, with them, and we're going to do Zelda Warriors, Hyrule Warriors. That's going to be a thing. Great ideas. I love these games. I think they're really fun. I like a Dynasty Warriors type game. I like both Hyrule Warriors and Fire Emblem Warriors quite a bit. The most recent games in those series have been pretty solid. We're living in the era of the Nintendo mashup. We're living in the era of Star Fox being in Mario.
Oh,
I want the Hyrule Warriors, Fire Emblem Warriors crossover game in the way that like Dynasty Warriors has like, I think Dynasty Warriors Orochi is it? That is like Dynasty Warriors meets up with Samurai Warriors. Like, I think that's what that series is. Give me the Orochi for Nintendo, where it's like Zelda characters and Fire Emblem characters in one game. And you build a story that is just like non-canon that lets you accomplish this, right? Where it's like Hyrule, Ganon has like won. Like Ganon has completely, his army has overtaken Hyrule. Link cannot do it on his own anymore. There's too many things to fight. And like him, the champions are gone or whatever, it's kind of just Link and like a ragtag crew of like 20, characters from Zelda, like Impa and like all these characters, right? And so they're like, we need to enlist help from a different kingdom to help us fight. Like we need warriors who are strong enough to help us fight back this because we need an army. And then you just bring in like 100 Fire Emblem characters, take your pick, right? All of them come in. It's like, yeah, we got a whole monastery where we're teaching people how to do this. Don't worry, we got your back. And you just like mix those two things into one crossover event in the same way that the Dynasty Warriors franchise eventually does. And like, to me, that is like the logical next step for both of those franchises, right? It's like we've kind of already done the Hyrule Warriors like tying into Zelda lore thing. It kind of worked, it kind of didn't, like you could use a new idea there. Fire Emblem, really like Three Hopes. I think that was great, but similarly, it's like, are you going to do that again? How are you going to tell that story again? Mash them up, one game. Give me the Dynasty Warriors game where it's like Marth is fighting moblins. It's the time to do it, man. Let's go.
See, I thought you were going a step further and we were going to get Super Smash Warriors.
See, I think you could do that too. And that would be really, really smart. But I like the idea that Zelda and Fire Emblem are like linked. You know what I mean? They're both like
Mhm.
Nintendo's version of like fantasy action, where it's like it's humans at the heart of this, like it's sword fighting at the heart of this. But there's a little more to it, but it's like they're both kingdom dramas. They're just both so linked, and the fact that those are the Warriors games again just reminds me of the dynamic that Koei Tecmo has with like Dynasty and Samurai Warriors, right? So there's a really natural fit there. But would I say no to Smash Brothers Warriors? Right? Would I say no to having like a full Muso game there? Man, I would take it. I would take that too.
God,
But
and
more sensibly,
the name being
God.
Super Smash Warriors would sell so well. Like,
Yeah,
they're not brothers anymore.
You have the less niche idea that would sell 1 billion. I have like the sicko fantasy stuff that's just for me. I cede to your idea on there, I think.
All right, so that brings me to my final idea.
Yeah.
And this is a lot more straightforward than my other ideas.
Cool.
So, Retro Studios just put out Metroid Prime 4. So they've been working on that for a really long time. We don't know if there've been overlap on other things that they've been up to, what they're doing now that that game is shipped, and unless they're doing like DLC for it or whatever. But, what's the other franchise that they've been touching a lot of? Donkey Kong Country.
Right. Okay,
so
sure.
They put out Donkey Kong Country Returns, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Yeah.
Did a great job. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is the best Donkey Kong Country game. I will go to bat for that, even though I will always have a soft spot in my heart for those first 3 games. So they've been pretty busy. Why don't we give that franchise to another developer?
My favorite thing to hear.
And again, no disrespect to Playtonic. This is purely because I want to free them up to do something new, whether that's a new Star Fox game, whether that's an F-Zero game, whatever they want to do. I think that they are itching to do something else aside from Metroid and Donkey Kong Country.
Sure.
There's this studio, you may have heard of them, called Playtonic.
Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry, you said Playtonic there. You meant Retro, right?
Yes.
Before. Yeah.
So,
Playtonic. Yeah. Is this the ukulele studio?
This is the ukulele studio.
Yeah.
It's a studio founded by a bunch of the developers behind games like Donkey Kong Country, like Banjo-Kazooie. I had Kevin Bayless on this podcast last year. Or I guess, it was last year, talking about how he created Diddy Kong for the Donkey Kong Country games. And he is there. He is the art director at this studio, as are several of the people who are instrumental in the creation of the Donkey Kong Country franchise. Why not give them another shot at it? Give them another crack at it with the 30 plus years of know-how that they have accumulated in the time since they were all working together at Rare. Ukulele is great, right? Especially the Impossible Lair, but that is just basically an updated version of Donkey Kong Country without Donkey Kong, right? Like the Impossible Lair, if you miss the Donkey Kong Country franchise and you've played all of the ones on Nintendo Switch Online and you've played all the ones that they've re-released on Switch and Switch 2, go play Ukulele in the Impossible Lair because it will scratch that exact same itch and it is fantastic. I think that if you gave the Donkey Kong Country IP to Playtonic, they would knock it out of the park, and they would, it would be a joyful homecoming. And, Nintendo and Rare had an incredible relationship back in the 90s, to the point that, it was a bummer for most people when Microsoft bought Rare because it meant they were no longer developing for Nintendo. And, we saw the results of that, unfortunately, where a lot of the key figures ended up leaving. They were working on a sequel to Diddy Kong Racing when they were sold, and that just got canceled because of that. They were working. It was Donkey Kong Racing for GameCube.
Oh, man.
It was canceled. They even showed a trailer at one of the E3s in the early 2000s, right before the sale. So I would love to see those studios, or that studio, reunited with that IP. I think they could do magical things with it, especially now that they have they've got their feet under them as now an independent studio. Give them another shot.
God, I love that. This is something I actually say all the time, which is that like I want more games that are made by like first party games, right? Like franchises that are Nintendo franchises, to be made by like cool indie studios that it's like, hey, you made a game that's really great and like feels indebted to one of our games. Like, do you want to make one of our games? Like, do you want to do it? We saw Nintendo flirt with this with Cadence of Hyrule, right back in the day, and it was fantastic. And like, what a smart way to use the Zelda IP and like give it to somebody. And I think that like we're starting to see that become more of a trend, right?
Motion Twin, Evil Empire doing Castlevania.
100%. We just had like a God of War game that was made by the WrestleQuest developers, right? There was a Legacy of Kain game that was made by a smaller developer. Like all of these things are becoming like a trend where it's like find an indie studio who like can make a small version of our game so that like we can take the 5 years it needs to, whatever it takes now to develop a game. And I think that's like a perfect partner for a game like that. One of the ideas that was on my list, if we had been running out of time and it was like, okay, give me the lightning round, I just would have said, let Toby Fox make Earthbound. And like, there's the pit and there's the pitch, right? Like, why not? If you're Nintendo, go to Toby Fox and be like, hey, we're not doing anything with this IP. We don't know how to do it. Can you make an Earthbound game? I want to see more of that because I just want to see indie studios like, first of all, get a payday, get like a good payday for doing good work that lets them finance like their own games. But also just like, that's a smart way to free up some of the developers at Nintendo to work on some big ideas or at any publisher to work on big ideas, and like not have it so like it takes 8 years between games or something like that. Platonic, perfect. That's a great fit.
And I think that would, again, free up Retro to do some other cool stuff, which, I think that they would like to do. I think that's a great studio. And I would like to see what they can do with other Nintendo IP.
Agreed. Yeah, 100%.
If you enjoyed this segment, I would like to hear from you. I want to know what your dream Nintendo pitches are. And if you're listening to this on Patreon, YouTube, or Spotify, you can comment directly on the episode. But otherwise, you can send them to the All Things Nintendo community Discord. Email me or send it over on social media. I just really am interested to see what other people are coming up with for their favorite Nintendo franchises in the future. Maybe I'll even do like an episode of All Things Gamers over on the Patreon where I kind of react to everyone's pitches. I think it could be a fun episode.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
But for now, Gio, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to come by.
And thank you so much to everyone for listening. As you know, my Patreon, the associated Discord server are the best ways to get any questions or comments in, but you can also get in touch with me at brian@allthingsnintendo.com or hit me up on Blue Sky or Instagram at Brian P. Shea. Gio, tell everyone where they can find you on the internet.
Oh, you can find me on Blue Sky at Mario Prime or whatever the handle structure is on Blue Sky. And you can find me writing about video games on Polygon.com.
That is our show for this week. Thank you again for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to this episode of All Things Nintendo. I hope you had as much fun listening to it as we had recording it. Before we get out of here and put a bow on this episode, I just want to give a special thank you to the $10 patrons of the All Things Nintendo podcast. Alex Stadnick, Ben Richland, Big Mitch, Chad Brecky, Chaps My Ass, Derek Sigmund, Dusty Beeman, Ian T. Clark, Jawar Hello, Johnny Five, Jose Villalobos, Joshua DeProy, Casey Radio Man, Cody Gibson, Creeper207, Nathaniel Edison, Ozman83, Paul at Drunk on Mako, Pratable, Rob McCann, Bobby Mac 265, Robert Sosa, Roberto Nieves, Roger Reichert, Russell Sayer, Smithy Poo, Zane Sink, and Zek Three Sword Sama. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for supporting this podcast over on Patreon. It means the world to me and it helps the show continue week after week. I saw that Chipotle is bringing back their honey chicken next week, which is hilarious because it's the only seasonal item that I love of theirs. Like all of their other seasonal items suck. Like the carne asada is terrible. The al pastor, like the chicken al pastor, even as somebody who tacos al pastor is my favorite type of taco. And I've tried their al pastor twice, like thinking like maybe I just got a bad batch. And it's like, no, this awful.
It's just bad, man. They don't make food.
The honey chicken is legitimately good to the point that I bought all the ingredients to replicate it myself. And I was like, all right, well, that's my dinner. I'm gonna make that tomorrow night. Like tomorrow night, that is my plan. And then yesterday, I announced they're bringing it back themselves next week, and I'm like, damn it.
They heard that you were gonna do it, and they were like, you can't steal our formula.
Well, too bad, because I already have it.
Hell yeah, sell it, black market.
Got Johnny Silverhand of Chipotle feeding me recipes.
That's beautiful. You should run them out of business. You should open like dumb Chipotle across the street and just be like, yeah, I'm also selling the honey chicken year round.
Yeah, it doesn't go away. And I recently also cracked the code for making my own quesaritos. So like I could also do dumb Taco Bell. Like I could do quesaritos without the fear of them going away forever. We will have Chipotle's honey chicken, but like name something legally distinct.
You can have the McRib.
I'll crack the McRib code next.
Crack the McRib code is a good phrase. Like it's the Da Vinci Code.
It's national treasure. I'm gonna steal the McRib recipe. I need my own Nicolas Cage.
Oh my God! You could be Nicolas Cage. You could be the Nicolas Cage of McDonald's.
Was he in the Da Vinci? No, that was Tom Hanks.
No, that's right. That's Tom Hanks.
But the Da Vinci Code would be made infinitely better if Nicolas Cage was in it.
Oh my God! Yeah, no, we got to remake it.
Like I love Tom Hanks, but like, really, it's like that whole thing of like, if you could replace all actors but one with Muppets, what would you do? And it's like, what if you could just replace the lead in any movie with Nicolas Cage?
The Da Vinci Code is such a good idea for that. Oh my God.
Oh man, I'm thinking Oppenheimer. Yeah, like Nicolas Cage just playing Robert Oppenheimer instead of Cillian Murphy. Or no, give him Florence Pugh's role.
Hey there, I'm Hugh from Poderation. If you like today's episode, why not check out the next session? Your D&D agony aunt's there to answer all of your questions. Join Adam and Alyssa as they answer questions sent in by listeners like you about how to solve the problems that come with running and playing in all sorts of different tabletop scenarios. Available wherever you get your podcasts.